in Durham. 21-year-old Karizma Mebane was shot and killed on Friday night. Just 2 years ago, her family also buried her brother. WREL's Durham reporter Sarah Kruger is live now from the Durham County Courthouse with what she's learned about the victim and 2 people charged now. Sarah?
Deborah, I came here to the courthouse to look for any warrants related to this case. What I found in the documents is that each suspect is listed as living at the same address, each with their mother, so it appears the 2 men are brothers. I also found that neither has any prior criminal history.
On October 7, 2022, the quiet evening at a Valero gas station in Durham, North Carolina, was shattered when at least 20 gunshots echoed through the air. Security lights illuminated the horrifying scene as bystanders scattered for cover. Among them was 21-year-old Karizma Mebane, a bright young woman with dreams of becoming a model whose life would end that night. Police arrived to find Karizma bleeding on the pavement, struck by at least 1 bullet in what investigators would later determine was no random act of violence. Emergency responders rushed her to a nearby hospital, but despite their efforts, doctors pronounced her dead shortly after arrival. The gas station, typically a place for routine stops, became a crime scene marked by yellow evidence tags scattered near the pumps. Each marker represented a bullet casing, physical proof of the ferocity of the attack that claimed a young woman's life in seconds. Within 24 hours, Durham police made shocking arrests. 2 brothers, Jaquez Reddick, 23, and Tracy Crawford, 18. The siblings, who had no prior criminal record, now faced first-degree murder charges. What drove these young men to allegedly commit such a violent act? What connection existed between them and Karizma? These questions would haunt both investigators and the community. For Karizma's family, this tragedy reopened wounds barely healed. Just 2 years earlier, they had buried her brother Jaquez, also lost to gun violence. Now they face the unthinkable, mourning a second child. Here at Crime Scene Exposed, we dive deep into the most infamous crimes, baffling disappearances, disturbing confessions, and twisted criminal minds from around the world. If gun violence has affected your community or someone you love, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share where you're watching from in the comments below. Tonight, we examine how a promising young woman's life ended at a gas station and how a single night of violence forever changed multiple families.
Julian, Durham police say 23-year-old Jaquez Reddick and 18-year-old Tracy Crawford have been arrested and charged with first-degree murder. You can take a look at the scene here from last night. This was on the 1900 block of Cheek Road. Police first responded to the scene at a Valero gas station on Hardy Street that was on Cheek Road. They found a 21-year-old woman who had been shot. She was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Police also responded to the Triangle Auto Wash off Avondale Drive. That's where a car was seen with bullet holes and an open door. Both Reddick and Crawford were transported to Durham County Jail, where they received no bond, and police say they do not believe this was random. Of course, anyone with any information is asked to call Durham police right away.
Karizma Mebane's story begins far from that Durham gas station where her life would tragically end. Born and raised in Alamance County, North Carolina, she grew up under the loving care of her mother, Tasha Mebane, and father, Christopher Gaddis. From an early age, those who knew Karizma recognized something special about her, a natural brightness that seemed to draw others in. Her middle school years revealed a young woman of remarkable versatility. While many students struggled to find their niche, Karizma excelled across multiple disciplines. She demonstrated musical talent at the piano, showcasing both technical skill and artistic expression. On the track field, she channeled her energy and determination into athletic achievement. Beyond these pursuits, Karizma contributed to her school community through involvement with the yearbook staff, helping document memories for her classmates. Her commitment to excellence earned her a place in the Arts Honor Society, recognizing her creative abilities and academic dedication. This pattern of achievement continued into her high school years at Eastern Alamance High School. There, Karizma maintained her academic focus, graduating with honors in 2019. Her graduation represented not just the completion of requirements, but the fulfillment of expectations she had set for herself: to excel, to grow, to prepare for a future full of possibility. At the time of her death in 2022, Karizma had secured employment at a Publix grocery store. While this job helped support her immediate needs, her ambitions stretched far beyond. She nurtured dreams of becoming a model, a goal that aligned perfectly with her natural presence and aesthetic sensibilities. Those who knew her describe a young woman with genuine passion for fashion, art, and music, creative outlets that allowed her to express her unique perspective on the world. What made Karizma truly special, however, wasn't found on any resume or achievement list. Her family consistently described her as sweet, loyal, and outgoing, a young woman who approached life with enthusiasm and authenticity. Her infectious smile became her signature, a reflection of her genuine heart and the joy she brought to everyday interactions. She possessed that rare quality of making others feel valued in her presence, building connections that would leave lasting impressions on everyone from casual acquaintances to close friends. At just 21 years old, Karizma stood at the beginning of adulthood, that pivotal moment when childhood dreams begin transforming into concrete plans. She had already demonstrated the work ethic, talent, and character needed to build a meaningful life. Her creative interests in modeling, fashion, art, and music weren't just hobbies. They represented potential career paths and means of self-expression that might have defined her future. Those who loved Karizma saw in her not just who she was, but who she was becoming. They recognized her ambition, her genuine heart, and her ability to connect with others as qualities that would serve her well in whatever path she chose. She was, by all accounts, simply enjoying life, embracing each day with the optimism of someone who believed in possibilities. This was the Karizma Mebane whose life was cut short on that October night in 2022. Not just a victim of violence, but a complete person with a history, relationships, talents, dreams, and a future that will never be realized. 2 years before Karizma Mebane's life was cut short at that Durham gas station, her family had already endured the unimaginable. In 2020, gun violence claimed the life of her brother, Jaquez, in a separate incident that devastated the close-knit family. Tariq's death came suddenly and senselessly. Family members would later describe the circumstances with a phrase that captures both the randomness and the tragedy of so many gun deaths. He was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. This common refrain carries with it the painful acknowledgement that had any small detail been different, had he left minutes earlier or later, chosen a different route, or made any minor change to his day, Tariq might still be alive. For the Mebane family, Tariq's death created a void that could never truly be filled. Parents aren't supposed to bury their children, and Tasha Mebane and Christopher Gaddis found themselves facing this profound reversal of the natural order. The loss reshaped their world, forcing them to navigate grief while still caring for their remaining children, including Karizma. Siblings share a unique bond, a connection built on shared childhood experiences, family dynamics, and the understanding that comes from growing up in the same household. When Tariq died, Karizma lost not just a brother, but a piece of her own history and identity. The person who had known her longest, who shared her family memories and understood her background in ways no one else could, was suddenly gone. For Karizma's stepsister, Sh0t Spencer, who considered Karizma a sister in every meaningful sense of the word, Tariq's death represented the first fracture in their family unit. Spencer would later speak about the profound impact of repeated violence on their family, suggesting that Tariq's death had already altered their collective sense of security and stability. Families who experience sudden, violent loss often describe the way it divides their lives into before and after. After Tariq's death, the Mebane family entered a new reality, one where empty chairs at holiday gatherings, missed milestones, and the constant awareness of absence became part of daily life. They began the difficult work of learning to carry their grief while still moving forward. What no one could have known then was that this first tragedy was not to be their last. The family that was still healing, still learning to navigate the world without Tariq, would face another devastating loss just 2 years later when Karizma's life was taken in similar circumstances. Has your family experienced multiple tragedies? The weight of repeated loss creates a burden that few can truly understand unless they've lived through it. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your story might help others feel less alone in their grief journey, and together we can build a community of support and understanding for those who have faced similar heartbreak. October 7th, 2022 began as an ordinary Friday for 21-year-old Karizma Mebane. The details of her day, where she went, who she spoke with, what plans she might have made for the weekend, would later be scrutinized by investigators trying to understand why she became the target of such violence. What we know with certainty is where that day ended, at a Valero gas station located at the intersection of Hardy Street and Cheek Road in Durham, North Carolina. As evening settled over Durham, Karizma arrived at the gas station. The location sits in a busy area, with vehicles regularly pulling in for fuel, snacks, or drinks before continuing their journeys. Security cameras would have captured her arrival, one of countless routine visits to the station that night. Nothing about the scene would have suggested the violence about to unfold. Around 9 p.m., the ordinary rhythm of the gas station was shattered. Without warning, gunfire erupted in the parking lot. Eyewitnesses would later report hearing multiple shots, not just a single discharge, but a barrage of bullets that suggested intent and determination. At least 20 shots rang out according to those present, transforming a mundane location into a scene of chaos and terror in seconds. Customers and employees alike sought cover as bullets flew. Some fled the area entirely, while others called 911, their voices urgent as they reported the shooting in progress. The sound of gunfire at a gas station, with its flammable materials and often crowded conditions, created particular panic among those present. Durham police responded quickly to the emergency calls. Officers arrived to find a chaotic scene, people shouting, some still taking cover, others pointing toward where the shots had come from. Among the confusion, they discovered Karizma Mebane lying on the ground near the gas pumps, suffering from at least one gunshot wound. First responders immediately began emergency medical procedures, working to stabilize her at the scene. Every second counted as they assessed her injuries and prepared her for transport. Paramedics loaded Karizma into an ambulance, sirens blaring as they rushed toward the nearest hospital, fighting against time and the severity of her wounds. Meanwhile, additional officers secured the perimeter of the gas station, transforming it into a crime scene. They began the meticulous process of evidence collection, marking each bullet casing with numbered tags. At least 20 evidence markers would eventually dot the area near the gas pumps, each representing a potential piece of the puzzle in understanding what had happened to Karizma. Investigators started gathering statements from witnesses who had seen or heard the shooting. Some described a vehicle speeding away from the scene. Others recalled the sequence of events, Karizma's presence at the station, the sudden eruption of gunfire, the chaos that followed. Each account added another perspective to the developing timeline. At the hospital, medical professionals worked desperately to save Karizma's life. Despite their best efforts, the urgent procedures, the skilled interventions, the collective hope of everyone involved, Karizma Mebane was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The vibrant young woman with dreams of modeling and a future full of promise became Durham's 34th homicide victim of 2022. As news of her death reached her family, their world collapsed for the second time in 2 years. The unthinkable had happened again. Another child lost to gun violence, another empty place at the table, another funeral to plan when they had barely recovered from a first. Back at the gas station, the investigation continued through the night. Officers interviewed witnesses, reviewed security footage, and collected physical evidence. The corner of Hardy Street and Cheek Road, a location Karizma had likely visited without a second thought, would now be forever marked in her family's memory as the place where her story ended. What had brought Karizma to that particular gas station that night? Was she simply stopping for fuel or a quick purchase? Or had she been lured there by someone she knew? These questions would drive the investigation forward as detectives worked to understand not just how Karizma died, but why she had been targeted. As word of the shooting spread through Durham, community members reacted with a mixture of horror, grief, and unfortunately, familiarity. In a city that had already seen 33 homicides that year before Karizma's death, gun violence had become a painfully common occurrence. Still, the brazenness of this attack, carried out at a busy gas station in the evening hours, struck many as particularly alarming. Local residents expressed concerns about safety in public spaces. Parents worried about their children being in the wrong place at the wrong time, the very phrase used to describe what had happened to Karizma's brother 2 years earlier. Community leaders called for increased police presence and more effective strategies to combat gun violence. For those who live near the Valero station, the crime scene tape and police activity served as a visceral reminder of the violence that had occurred in their neighborhood. Some placed flowers near the station in the days following the shooting, creating an impromptu memorial for a young woman many of them had never met, but whose death affected them nonetheless. The gas station itself, a business, a workplace, a regular stop for many, would eventually reopen, but with the invisible weight of what had happened there. Employees would return to work, customers would pump gas, life would seemingly continue as normal, but the location would carry the memory of that night. In the immediate aftermath, however, the Valero station remained a hub of investigative activity. Detectives worked methodically through the evidence, piecing together what had happened to Karizma Mebane and who was responsible. The 20-plus evidence markers told part of the story, but the full narrative, the why behind this targeted attack, remained to be uncovered. The investigation into Karizma Mebane's death revealed a deliberate, targeted attack. With at least 20 shots fired at the Valero gas station, investigators quickly ruled out random violence or robbery gone wrong. This wasn't a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like her brother Tariq's death 2 years earlier, someone had specifically targeted Karizma. Durham police worked with exceptional speed. While homicide investigations typically unfold over weeks or months, detectives identified and apprehended suspects within just 24 hours of the shooting. By October 8th, they had arrested 2 brothers, Jaquez Reddick, 23, and Tracy Crawford, 18. The arrests raised immediate questions in the community. How had investigators identified the brothers so quickly? While police didn't disclose their methods publicly, the rapid resolution suggested compelling evidence, perhaps gas station security footage, credible eyewitness accounts, or information from sources close to the suspects. Whatever led them to Reddick and Crawford, Durham police had moved with decisive efficiency. What made the case particularly puzzling was the background of the suspects. Neither brother had any prior criminal record, no history of violence, no pattern of escalating behavior that might have predicted such an act. Both lived with their mother in Durham, leading seemingly ordinary lives until that October night. Tracy Crawford's circumstances added particular complexity to the case. At 18, he faced adult murder charges, yet he was still a 10th grade student, suggesting educational challenges or disruptions. Most poignantly, Crawford was the father of a young child. His arrest meant another innocent victim in this tragedy, a child who would now grow up with a father behind bars, potentially for life. The relationship between the brothers, whether Jaquez had influenced his younger brother or what dynamics might have led them to allegedly commit murder together, became a subject of community speculation. Without a criminal history for either brother, the violence seemed to have erupted from nowhere, leaving many to wonder what connection could have existed between them and Karizma. Both brothers were charged with first-degree murder, North Carolina's most serious homicide charge, indicating prosecutors believed the killing was premeditated rather than impulsive. This charge carries severe penalties, including the possibility of life imprisonment without parole. Within days of their arrest, Reddick and Crawford appeared before a Durham County judge in a virtual hearing. Prosecutors from the district attorney's office requested that both defendants be held without bond, citing the gravity of the charges and the violent nature of the crime. In a moment that highlighted how violence creates victims on all sides, the brothers' parents attended the hearing and made emotional appeals for their son's release on bond. Their pleas underscored the ripple effects of the case, 2 families now devastated, one by death and another by the prospect of their sons spending decades or life in prison. Despite these appeals, the judge denied bond for both defendants, ordering them to remain in the Durham County Detention Facility throughout the legal proceedings. This decision, while difficult for the defendant's family, followed standard procedure in first-degree murder cases, where public safety concerns and flight risk typically outweigh other considerations. For Karizma's family, the swift arrests provided a measure of relief amid overwhelming grief. While nothing could restore their daughter and sister, knowing those allegedly responsible were in custody offered some comfort, a stark contrast to many homicide cases that remain unsolved for years or forever. As the case progressed, prosecutors continued building their case, awaiting comprehensive police reports, forensic analyses, and other evidence. The bullet casings from the scene, security footage, witness statements, and any digital evidence would all need careful documentation for eventual presentation in court. As of the most recent information available, the case against Reddick and Crawford remains pending trial. The legal process in homicide cases moves deliberately, with multiple hearings, evidence reviews, and procedural matters preceding any trial. This methodical approach, while frustrating for those seeking immediate resolution, aims to ensure proper justice with full consideration of evidence and rights. For Karizma's family, each passing day extends their painful limbo between grief and closure. They attend court dates, consult with prosecutors, and hope the legal system will ultimately deliver justice for their loved one. The Durham community watches alongside them, knowing the case's resolution will not only determine two young men's fate, but also send a message about accountability in a city struggling with gun violence. For Sh0t Spencer, Karizma Mebane wasn't just a stepsister. She was family in every sense that matters. The bond between them transcended technical definitions of family relationships. Spencer considered Karizma a sister, plain and simple, a reflection of a close connection they had built over years of shared experiences, conversations, and mutual support. When Karizma's life was cut short at the Valero gas station on October 7, 2022, Spencer found herself confronting a pain that was both devastatingly new and hauntingly familiar. Just 2 years earlier, the family had buried Karizma's brother, Jaquez, also lost to gun violence. Now they faced the unthinkable task of burying a second child, a second sibling, a second future erased by bullets. In the aftermath of Karizma's death, Spencer spoke openly about the profound impact of repeated violence on their family. The loss of one family member to gun violence is a tragedy. The loss of two within such a short time span feels like a cruel pattern that defies comprehension. For Spencer and the rest of Karizma's family, grief became layered, the fresh pain of Karizma's death compounded by memories of Tariq's similar fate. Yet even in the depths of this double grief, Spencer found purpose in possibility. She expressed hope to channel her pain into helping others by establishing a nonprofit organization focused on supporting those affected by gun violence. This vision wasn't just about honoring Karizma and Tariq, it was about recognizing that their family's experience, while uniquely painful to them, was not unique in American communities. Spencer emphasized that gun violence extends far beyond Durham city limits, touching families and communities everywhere. Her perspective reflected a profound understanding that behind every statistic, every headline about another shooting, are real people with dreams, relationships, and futures, people like Karizma, with her modeling aspirations and infectious smile, or Tariq, who was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. For the Mebane family, coping with this second loss meant navigating a grief journey with no roadmap. How does a mother like Tasha Mebane find the strength to bury a second child? How does a father like Christopher Gaddis process the loss of another future that will never unfold? These questions have no easy answers, only the daily reality of putting one foot in front of the other, of finding ways to honor two lives cut short while somehow continuing their own. Through their pain, Karizma's family has become an unwilling testament to both the devastating impact of gun violence and the resilience of the human spirit. Their story, particularly Spencer's hope to create something meaningful from such profound loss, reminds us that even in the darkest circumstances, the possibility of purpose remains. Karizma Mebane's death, the 34th homicide in Durham in 2022, represents more than just an individual tragedy. It stands as a stark reminder of the persistent challenge of gun violence that affects communities across America. Her story and that of her brother Tariq illustrates how violence creates ripples that extend far beyond the immediate victims, touching families, neighborhoods, and entire cities. Addressing this epidemic requires a comprehensive approach that goes beyond any single solution. Community-based violence intervention programs have shown particular promise in cities struggling with similar challenges. These initiatives connect at-risk individuals with trusted community members who can intervene before conflicts escalate to violence. Violence interrupters, often people with deep community ties and sometimes their own past experiences with the justice system, work on the ground to mediate disputes, offer alternatives to retaliation, and build relationships that can prevent shootings before they occur. Hospital-based intervention programs represent another critical approach. When someone arrives at an emergency room with a violence-related injury, these programs provide immediate support and connection to services, recognizing that this moment of crisis also presents an opportunity for intervention that might prevent future violence. For young people like Tracy Crawford, the 18-year-old 10th grader charged in Karizma's death, youth support and mentorship programs might have offered a different path. Effective mentorship, apprenticeship, and leadership programs help at-risk youth find positive alternatives and develop skills that can lead to educational and career opportunities. These programs recognize that young people need more than just warnings about violence. They need viable alternatives and supportive relationships with adults who believe in their potential. The physical environment itself plays a role in either enabling or discouraging violence. Safe environment initiatives focus on transforming neighborhoods through collaborative efforts to clean and maintain public spaces, restore vacant land, and design areas that promote community gathering and positive interaction. These efforts contribute to reducing crime while fostering community pride and ownership. Parents and families represent a crucial front line in violence prevention. When families talk openly about violence, support young people in managing conflicts peacefully, and secure firearms to prevent unauthorized access, they create protective factors that can prevent tragedy. For families like the Mebane family, who have lost 2 children to gun violence, their painful experience underscores the urgent need for these conversations in every home. Access to mental health services and social support addresses underlying factors that can contribute to violence. Counseling, conflict resolution training, and economic support programs help individuals manage trauma, develop healthy coping mechanisms, and meet basic needs, all of which can reduce the likelihood of violence. Effective partnerships between law enforcement and communities build the trust necessary for violence prevention and investigation. When police departments work collaboratively with community stakeholders and service providers, as the Durham Police Department has attempted through proactive crime area target teams, increased patrols, and community engagement, they can more effectively address violence while maintaining community trust. The Durham Gun Safety Team exemplifies this multifaceted approach, working to reduce firearm injuries and deaths through education, awareness, and environmental changes, such as promoting safe firearm storage and reducing alcohol outlet density in high-risk areas. Karizma's story reminds us that behind every statistic is a human being with dreams, loved ones, and a future that deserves protection. Her life, her piano playing, her track running, her modeling aspirations represents all that is lost when gun violence claims another victim. Her death, like her brothers before her, calls us to action. Subscribe to join our community working to understand these issues and support victims' families. Together, we can honor Karizma's memory by committing to the difficult, necessary work of breaking cycles of violence in our communities. In the end, Karizma Mebane's story is both tragically common and profoundly unique. At just 21 years old, she became Durham's 34th homicide victim of 2022, a statistic that fails to capture the fullness of who she was and what the world lost when those shots rang out at the Valero gas station on October 7th. Karizma leaves behind a legacy defined by both achievement and potential. Her academic success, graduating with honors from Eastern Alamance High School in 2019, speaks to her intelligence and dedication. Her middle school activities, playing piano, running track, contributing to the yearbook staff, and participating in the Arts Honor Society, reveal a young woman of diverse talents and interests. Her employment at Publix grocery store demonstrates her work ethic and responsibility. But perhaps most poignant are the dreams that will remain unfulfilled. Karizma's aspirations of becoming a model, her passion for fashion, art, and music, these were not just hobbies but expressions of a creative spirit now silenced. The infectious smile that her family remembers, her genuine heart, her ambition, all these qualities suggested a future of possibility and promise. For her family, already carrying the grief of losing her brother Tariq to gun violence just 2 years earlier, Karizma's death represents an unimaginable burden. Yet even in their double grief, they have shown remarkable resilience. Her stepsister Sh0t Spencer's vision of creating a nonprofit to support those affected by gun violence offers hope that something meaningful might emerge from such profound loss. The facts of Karizma's case are stark: a targeted shooting at a gas station, at least 20 shots fired, 2 brothers with no prior criminal history charged with first-degree murder. But these facts alone cannot convey what it means for a family to lose a daughter, a sister, a friend, especially when that loss follows so closely on another similar tragedy. As Karizma's case continues through the legal system, her story reminds us that gun violence is not an abstract problem, but one that claims real lives with real dreams. It reminds us that behind every homicide statistic is a human being who was loved, who had plans, who mattered. Karizma Mebane was more than the circumstances of her death. She was a young woman from Alamance County who played piano and ran track, who graduated with honors, who dreamed of modeling, who was described as sweet, loyal, and outgoing. She was, in the words of those who knew her best, simply enjoying life, until that life was cut short on an October night in Durham. May her memory inspire action that prevents other families from experiencing similar heartbreak, and may her spirit live on in those who knew and loved her.